second session of the Khushwant kslitfest. That was just so beautiful, rainy. I'm sorry about the mix-up to start with. And now we've got, of course, the distinguished Dr. Parakala Prabhakar. And he's going to speak on Whither the Revolution, a question that we'd really like to know the answer to because we thought it was going nowhere. And I asked him, I said, so did you know Khushwant Singh? So he said, no, I never had the pleasure of meeting him. But the first time I met him was in my father's library when I was too young to read English. And the book, of course, that was there was Train to Pakistan. And subsequently, of course, he became an avid reader of his column with malice to one and all. And he said that when I was a student in Delhi, then I would always, whenever I went to the Khan Market area, I would pass by Sujan Singh Park and look at it in awe. And then I would pass Baikunt whenever I was on that DTC bus. And I would again look at it in awe because I was told that in some way they were connected to Khushwant Singh. Then, of course, the rest was history. And he, of course, became the great political thinker and economist, economic writer that he is today. And today he's going to tell us, I think, a subject that all of us really want to know about. And that is, what are the events that led to the new India that we all keep hearing tom-tommed about every single day. So what are the events that led to it? And more important, where is it going to lead us? And what are the implications for us and for the principles of the founding principles of the Constitution? So please, and speaking to him, of course, is Harinder Baweja, who I know as Shami. So would you all please come on stage?
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? After Rini's beautiful poetry, let's plunge state into politics. Welcome back to the Khushwant Singh Literary Festival, named after a man I've had the privilege of meeting and interviewing several times. Thank you, Nilüfer and Rahul. It's an absolute honor to be moderating the inaugural session with Dr. Parakala Prabhakar. He is a well-known and widely respected writer, economist, and social commentator. He studied at the London School of Economics, which is still a badge of honor. He also studied at Jawaharlal Nehru University, which along the way became the Tukre Tukre gang, and we'll come back to that in a bit. Dr. Prabhakar also served as an advisor to the government of Andhra Pradesh and is currently the managing editor of Controversies. Also because he's married to Nirmala Sitharaman, our very articulate finance minister. His book, The Crooked Timber of New India, came out a few months ago, and we're going to talk about it. The book reflects a very sharp mind and equally sharp views. Dr. Prabhakar, I'm going to give you 4 or 5 minutes to introduce your book and tell us why you wrote The Crooked Timber of New India and why you think the Republic is in crisis.
Thank you very much, Ms. Baweja. Thank you very much to Rahul Singh and Nilüfer Bilmoria and all their colleagues for inviting me to this wonderful festival. Khushwant Singh, you're not able to hear me? Yeah. They have to increase the volume, or should I?
No, you have to be as forceful as you're writing.
It's just the beginning. Just started. I'm in the first gear now. As Bachi said, my first brush with Khushwant Singh was in my father's library. That time, I could read English words. And continuously when I read them, they became a sentence, but I didn't understand. I didn't understand English at that time. I could just read it, that's all. And of course, when I grew up, he was already the editor of the Great Illustrated Weekly of India, and I used to avidly read with malice towards one and all. I used to look forward to that. And as Bachi said, Baikund, Sujan Singh Park. When we were taking either 615, I don't know how many are you familiar with the Delhi Transport Corporation's bus routes, 615 and 620, either from JNU or from Munirka to New Delhi railway station. We used to see Baikund. And people told me, I don't know how far it's true, that Baikund was in some way connected to Khushwant Singh. What I admired in Khushwant Singh was his irreverence and humor, of course. At the same time, without sacrificing these two, he was a very serious scholar. That is something very inspiring for me. Ms. Baweja gave me 4 to 5 minutes, 3 to 4 minutes. 4 to 5 minutes. But you don't count this.
I'm looking at my watch, sir.
Yeah, you don't count what I said in the as introductory to my memory of Khushwant Singh. I titled my book as The Crooked Timber of New India. When I suggested this to a few friends, this is what I'm going to title it, most of them discouraged me because they thought that people might misunderstand this as a book on the timber trade. Seriously. But I stuck. And it turned out that people have really understood this. I borrowed this expression from Immanuel Kant, who was an 18th century European philosopher. In his long essay on idea of universal civilization with a cosmopolitan purpose, he said, and I quote, "The crooked timber, nothing straight will ever come off. Nothing straight will ever come off the crooked timber of humanity." That's what he said. I thought, looking at what's happening around us, that nothing straight will ever come off the crooked timber of New India. Then, in some of the book conversations that I had, Ms. Baweja, people asked me, what do we do to straighten this crooked timber of New India? I said, you can't straighten a crooked timber, you have to hive it off. I have another 3 minutes.
I'm good company, but I'm a very strict moderator.
I'll meet your expectations. People ask me, you're very critical. Can't you see, Parakala, can't you see? I know Bachi as well as Baweja, they found it a bit difficult to pronounce my name. It is Parakala. Parakala. Okay. Parakala, don't you find anything good, anything nice happening in New India? I mean, are you so negative? You see only the crookedness. I said, look, I'm a diagnostician. You go to a diagnostic center, the diagnostician will not tell you, Baweja, your ears are very fine, your eyes are very good, your speech is all right, your hands are good, your legs are good. No, he will straight away tell you there's something wrong with your gallbladder. Now, I imagine Baweja coming out and, shouting, look, I have so many good things. And he, this guy tells me only about my gallbladder. I say, look, for New India and the dispensation, there are so many people who do bhajan, that, your eyes are very good, your ears are very good, your feet are very good, your hands are very good. I don't want to join that club. They're already there. That place is taken. What I want to do is to straight away go and tell them, look, your heart has a problem or your gallbladder has a problem. Then what is the solution? Look, you're very critical of this, you're very critical of these people. What is the alternative? Look, I don't know what is the alternative. People of India will decide what is the alternative. That's not my job. Okay, what is the solution? You only highlight the problems. And you come across this expression very frequently. You sit in your comfortable home in an AC room. I can switch off the AC if you want. And then write about the problems. What is the solution? I don't know what is the solution. And if I don't know the solution, that does not disqualify me from airing the problem. Why are you not even-handed? Why don't you crack the whip on bad things and good things? Say something. And I want to say this here in Kasauli, in the Khushwant kslitfest. In order to earn my right to be critical, I do not want now and then to say nice thing about the New India. Not necessary. I don't have to earn my right to be critical. I'm born with that right to be critical of the government, of the regime. It is my inalienable right. I don't have to be namby-pamby and say, look, they've done that very well, they've done this very well, but this is bad. No, this is bad. Those two, there are people, there are television studios, there are newsrooms, there are, we have outsourced our thought leadership to the news studios nowadays. They will do that. They are doing it. They are doing it, but I am not going to do that. I am going to be very parsimonious. I won't go on saying that, I like this, I like that, but then I don't like this. No, I'm straight away going to say, I don't like that, this is bad. And I say, this is a collection of essays on a republic in crisis. I believe that this republic is in crisis. Baweja will ask me and we will talk about it. After that, you will ask me. I'll tell you what is the nature of this crisis. And the title of our festival is The Revolution Will Not Be Televised or Is Not Televised. And this drift of our republic into this crisis has been televised, was being televised, right under our noses. But we ignored all these signals. We ignored all that, and today we landed here. And then, of course, we'll also talk about where do we go from here, etc., etc. Thank you very much. I think I have not used up all your...
Perfect. The revolution will not be televised. I can assure all of you sitting here that this session will definitely not be televised, because when Dr. Prabhakar talks about the regime, the ruling dispensation, he primarily has two people in mind, and they are the Prime Minister and the Home Minister, Narendra Modi and Amit Shah, and your book testifies to that. My first question, let's dive straight into the question-answer session, sir. In the book, you say very clearly that your task is to speak truth to power at all times. How do you keep peace at home? What is your conversation around the dining table? Your views are dramatically opposed to Nirmala Sitharaman, and as we know, she's a very articulate woman. I'm sorry, but I have to start with this.
Rather than, I
This
fall
is a
into
serious
this.
question,
It is
sir.
not a serious question. I'm sorry to
Your
say
book
that.
says you're married.
The book doesn't, the blurb says.
It's your book.
And I don't want this session to be, giving Ms. Baweja, very juicy kind of a thing. It's not
No,
the intention.
it's my only question on this issue.
Yeah. Let's pass that and let's go straight dive into, what is the crisis of the Republic.
Very
Thank you.
briefly, how do you keep peace?
Let's straight dive into the book.
You can be sure I'm going to come back to this question. I'm not going to let go, but for now...
And you can, for anything that you do, you are not going to divert me from the crooked timber of New India.
I mean, okay. Obviously, the cabinet is part of that crooked timber. So in a way, ladies and gentlemen, perhaps the question has been answered. My next question. In the foreword, sir, written by well-known journalist Sanjay Baru, Baru says you chose to stay put in Hyderabad over the last decade and more, even though you could very easily have entered the national political stage, which is now dominated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Why did you make that choice?
I must say this, that there are people who have worked in political parties, and I have been in close contact with political parties, also worked in political parties, knew people who worked in political parties. My parents worked in political parties. But I have increasingly come to this conclusion, Ms. Baweja, that political parties largely are responsible for the shaping of this crooked timber of New India. And political parties cannot really deliver us, from this crooked timber of New India. It cannot really, help us overcome this or hive it off. It is the civil society. It's people like you, people like me, people like, the common persons, the Indians at large, the millions and millions of Indians at large. I have a huge faith in them. That is the reason why I keep saying that, whatever may be the outcome of 2024 general elections, that is not going to solve the kind of problems that we are already into.
You did work with the BJP at one point and also with the Congress when P.V. Narasimha Rao was the Prime Minister. What happened? Please tell us honestly.
Please tell us.
Honestly.
Whatever I say, of course, you didn't give me a holy book to swear on, but it's going to be honest. It's going to be 100% true.
Except the first question.
First question is not a question to me. Let's not spend our lives of 50 minutes of our life on that kind of a thing. I mean, I have not come here to entertain. I've come here with a very serious purpose.
No, I have very serious questions.
That's not a serious question. I know what you want to get out of it, but I'm not going to let you to do that. Baweja, you see, I was born into a Congress family. My father was a freedom fighter. My grandfather was a freedom fighter. My mother was a freedom fighter. And they were underground. My father was jailed during the Quit India movement. And of course, he was 3, 4, 5, probably 5 times a legislator. And then he was a member of about 3 or 4 cabinets in Andhra Pradesh. So we were all there in the journey. And then, because my father and my family was in the Congress party and in politics, they were also very close to Mr. P.V. Narasimha Rao. Manishankar Ayerji is sitting here. He has a different view about that, but I have a completely different view about that. It's fair enough. When the then Congress High Command and down the line, Congress High Command, once it decides something, of course, it's down the line. When he fell out of favor for whatever reason, anybody who is one way or the other associated with Mr. Narasimha Rao was also hounded. And of course, in Andhra Pradesh, we were also hounded. So, we just wanted to, some of us, because we, there in our particular state, when you leave Congress, you can't go to the other main political party because we have had a history of fighting that political party, which is a regional party. And there was this BJP, which was absolutely had nothing at all in Andhra Pradesh. So we just, parked ourselves there for some time. And then when we realized that, this is not what we really are wedded to, the ideas, the ideals, and the values, we said, enough is enough. That's an honest answer.
A point that you make repeatedly through the book is that there is a growing gap between the promise and the actual performance of our political leaders. And the most prominent example which you have looked at and analyzed is that of Prime Minister Modi. But sir, he likes to think that he works tirelessly. He hasn't taken a single day off. We hear things like Vishwaguru, Amrit Kal. What are you seeing that the supporters and voters of the BJP and Modi don't see?
For anybody, the plain people like you and me, if you say, make in India, stand up India, skill India, Swachh Bharat, Beti Padhao and Beti Bachao, kind of a thing, you get excited, don't you? These undoubtedly have the potential to transform India, whether televised or not. But over the years down the line, what you realize is that, they were slogans. They were meant to, give you a headline next day morning newspapers. Just an event. It came to Make in India, Stand Up India, Skill India, now came to Shut Up India. That is the kind of, drift that we have seen. Eventification, huge propaganda, publicity. I'll give you one small example, Ms. Baweja. Look at this program called Beti Padhao, Beti Bachao. About 80% of the funds allocated to this program was spent on advertisements. Of whom? And the highways and petrol stations.
You mean the Supreme Leader?
Yes. Yes. It's not really, to reach the beneficiary. And that is what I'm trying to question. There is no dedication. There is no seriousness. There is no follow-up. I'll tell you one more thing. Had the government been serious about the girl child, you wouldn't have had a huge agitation in Jantar Mantar by the women wrestlers. In spite of titling a bill as Nari Vandana and passing it,
The Women's Reservation Bill.
The Women's Reservation Bill, which God knows when it's going to be implemented, whether it is going to be implemented or not. And for some reason, probably, the Northeast is not a huge part of our national imagination. Is that so? I'm sorry. Maybe I'm saying it wrong. But you know, when what's happening in Manipur, for months and months, women were paraded. And the Beti Padhao, Beti Bachao Sarkar, and you said what? Supreme
Leader.
Leader.
Let's not forget Bilkis Banu.
Bilkis Banu. You know, it was the people who were convicted, not charged, convicted for
gang rape, murder.
I mean, doing atrocity, you know. They were released. Their sentence was condoned, and they were released on 15th of August 2022, when we kicked off Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. That is the kind of thing. So the problem is that, you know, there is a huge gap between what we hear and what we see on the ground.
Dr. Prabhakar, your training in economics, it helps you analyze data. You know, you look through facts. Your analysis, and I would urge everybody to read this book, is rather grim, and the subtitle of your book is Essays on a Republic in Crisis. Yet, as India prepares for another general election in 2024, which is not far, what we hear is, Aayega to Modi hi. What we hear as we approach the election is, Aayega to Modi hi. But it is Modi who will come back. What is the answer to that? Because you're saying that the crisis has been created largely over the last 9 years, since 2014. Yet, there is a vote bank which is very loyal.
Data in India today, not in India today, but in India nowadays, is undependable. The data that we, hear or read, that is put out by the government and the government spokespeople and the party functionaries and government functionaries, is just completely undependable. You ask anything, including employment, unemployment, you can't trust it. It's not that the government is not capable of collecting this data. The government, if it wants, it does collect data and what it wants about. Baweja ji, I've heard the Prime Minister speaking during the Karnataka campaign that he was abused by his opponents 99 times. Not 100 times. Not 98 times. Very precise. If they want, they can tell you precisely how many times somebody is abused. But we do not know how many migrant labor died, how many migrant labor walked from Kerala to Uttar Pradesh, Kerala to Bihar, how many people died because they couldn't access a hospital bed, they couldn't access oxygen cylinder, ventilator, how many people are out of job, how many small-scale industries were shut, what kind of a damage was done to the unorganized sector in the economy, what was the size of economy before the pandemic struck us, what did happen, what happened after the mindless demonetization. We can talk about demonetization also a little later. We don't have, the government says in the House of Parliament, they have absolutely no idea. But they want, when they want, they have data. Having said that, now we have to depend on CMI, organizations like that, in order to give us. Now, I don't want to throw a lot of data on you, but just allow me, Ms. Baweja, to give you 2 or 3.
You can call me Shami, sir.
Okay, Shami. Then you have to call me Prabhakar.
After the session.
It's a deal. No, then I'm not. After the session, I'll call you Shami. Now, of course, you are Ms. Baweja, and I'm
Dr. Prabhakar.
Dr. Prabhakar, yeah. I don't know if you've seen some of these pink papers and the finance papers. they told us that last financial year, the household saving has contracted by 19%. It's huge. And our youth unemployment is 23%. We are in the August company of Syria, Iran, Lebanon, and our neighbor, Bangladesh, is only slightly less than half of our youth unemployment rate. Our youth is 53% of our population. We talk about demographic dividend and things like that, Khelo India, Startup India and all that, and Skill India and all that. I don't, God knows who is being skilled. You know, our skill rate is less than 5%, just about 5%, whereas in solid economies like South Korea, UK, Japan, it's 85%, 80%, 69%, 70%, etc., etc. Nobody is less than any economy which is worth talking about today. Even the economy that, you know, we have supposed to have overcome and overtaken, God knows how. Anyway, we can talk about that also. There's absolutely no skill. Unemployment is very high. Women participation in the labor force is at an unacceptable level. I don't want to throw a lot of data, you know, percentages and all that. And
it's all there in the book. So
it's all there in the book, of course. And in general, labor participation is low. In that, women's participation is even lower, unacceptably lower. And do you know that, you know, in spite of everything that the captains of industry and trade talk about, you know, in glowing terms about New India and what is happening today and what is happening for the last 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, every year for the last 9 years, an average of 1.5 lakh HNIs, high net worth individuals, are relinquishing Indian citizenship and going away to either Singapore or to the Middle Eastern countries. And the private investment, which used to be about 32%, about 10 years ago, today is somewhere around 19%. Why? In spite of their talk, they don't trust the investment climate here. And a huge amount of investment which has come, not only after the outbreak of Ukrainian war, even before that, flight of capital from India has begun, is continuing, in spite of whatever the government says. And allow me to give you one or two more data. You know, and before they stand up and beat me up.
briefly.
Briefly. Yes. I mean, it's too much of figures, but anyway. But this is very important for us to have a bigger picture in mind. You know, we have added nearly 100 lakh crore debt in the last 10 years. 100 lakh crore. And we have written off more than 12 lakh crore of corporate debt. People talk about revenues and all that. You know, if you give something to somebody who wears a suit and a tie and, you know, who gets off from a Merc, it's, you know, incentive, productivity linked incentive. But if you give something to, you know, somebody who has a small loincloth and you pulls a rickshaw, it's revenue. You try to, you know, denigrate revenue, but what do? You give 3 gas cylinders, you know, to those people and 3 airports to your friend.
Let me turn to another subject now, the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. You refer to the RSS in your book as a Hindu supremacist organization. The RSS, they like to think they're a very large charitable body involved in very deep social work. Of course, they talk about a Hindu Rashtra. The question I want to ask you is, what happened, and we're sitting in an army cantonment, and I grew up in army cantonments, what happened to our liberal, pluralistic, democratic foundations. Why have we become, if I may say, so communal, so prejudiced, so intolerant, so full of hate?
Allow me to answer this a bit elaborately.
No.
You want just the
Sir,
bullet points.
yeah.
But this is
Because
very
you
important.
also have to ask questions. Allow the
This is very
audience.
important. Or what we can do is, I'll say something a bit, detailed way, in an elaborate way, and then of course we can go for the
No,
Q&A.
there are more questions before we open the floor.
But anyway, allow me, because this is very important. You see, I'll tell you what. The most propitious time for this kind of a new India to have come about was in 47, 48, 49, those days. Train from Pakistan, which we have already mentioned. That was the time when dead bodies came from the other side of the border to this side, and dead bodies went from this side of the border to that side. And, huge, big personalities compared to these, what we see today. People like Golwalkar and Balraj Madhok, Shyama Prasad Mukherjee, Karpatri Maharaj, M.S. Golwalkar, Savarkar, were all alive. That was that. And, they made no mean efforts to change the discourse, to change the direction of India. But that did not happen. It is a very surprising thing that it has come about now. It is staring us now in the face. Why? That is because there has been a sizable number of people who are dedicated, highly motivated, willing to put in hard work, capable of putting hard work, not hankering after limelight, television, etc., not looking for electoral dividends. They went on and on and on, working on little, small groups in remote areas without your knowledge and our knowledge, my knowledge and our knowledge. And, they have been able to change the kind of discourse. Now,
They've penetrated
but
the mind.
but you see, the ideals that we talk about, we love so much: secularism, diversity, liberalism, constitutional values, tolerance. These ideals do not have foot soldiers. These ideals have political parties, and political parties today, pardon me for saying this, are sleepwalking from one election to the other. Between one election and the other, there is no ideological work. They just don't talk to anybody. They don't, have no idea they have not even sized up the threat that is being faced by India today, India nowadays.
The new India, you mean?
The new India, yeah.
Yes.
Today, that is the situation. So, whatever they might say that we are just a huge, world's biggest volunteer organization dedicated to service, etc. But, you see, their creed since the beginning has been very clear. They have not done anything in secret. They have been saying this for a long time. You read Bunch of Thoughts, you read anything, it's all very clear. But, for some reason, the entire political society of our country has come to this complacent understanding that Indian polity is now more or less settled between a fight between slightly right of center and slightly left of center. We're complacent. Okay, all right. They're not going to go away so far. That is the reason, probably, which prompted, with a few honorable exceptions, every political party to do business with BJP. Everybody had done. DMK, ADMK, Trinamool Congress, Telugu Desam, NCP, National Conference, everybody had done business directly or indirectly, whatever. And today we have this. And allow me two more sentences.
You make me sound like a monster.
No. You're so kind. You're allowing me to talk all this. when in 2014, the election pitch of the present Prime Minister and the BJP was not communalism.
Sabka Saath.
I remember very well, most of you do remember very well, and thing is that, many people have not updated what happened after that. They stopped there. We heard during the election speeches, the fight is not between Hindus and Muslims. The fight is between Hindus and Muslims on the one side, poverty, unemployment, corruption on the other. That's the fight. I'm there, for this side. And all that corruption, black money, Swiss bank money, and all that, they are all seasonings on the garnishings on the thing. But that was the core. But you see, that was only some kind of a Trojan horse kind of a thing. That was only in order to, they launched a space vehicle. The payload is Hindutva. But, one rocket of the, after the other, they fall off as they progress. And by the time 17 came or 18 came, it's all very clear. It wasn't clear in 13, it's not clear in 14, 15, it's not clear. You can see that one of the chapters analyzes the various speeches from the
August 15th, very interesting.
ramparts of the Red Fort. You can just see. The first speech says, look, it acknowledges Jawaharlal Nehru, it acknowledges all the prime ministers, it acknowledges all the chief ministers. It's Team India. Team India is, have all of them. Today, even the tallest personality of their own party, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, is nobody. He did not also contribute anything. Actually, it all started only in 2014. That is the narrative today. And, people who genuinely believe in this, as the narrative that, we see in RSS declarations and their writings and etc. There are people who believed in it. And for a long time, not today, for the last 100 years, even more than that probably. I disagree with them, but I don't find fault with them. Maybe they believe in it. We can engage with them and talk to them. We differ. We have a different concept of idea and different concept and idea of India. They have a different concept of and idea of India. That's okay, fine. But what I'm worried about, Ms. Baweja, is the people who have struck a Faustian bargain, just for a little career, a promotion, maybe, a position in the newsroom, a position in the newspaper, not to be sacked or to be appointed, become a vice chancellor or something or the other, for all this. Maybe a couple of ministerial berths in the cabinet, etc., etc. For that, those who probably do not believe in it or not believed in it also are very loudly propagating this kind of a doctrine. I have a quarrel with them. And I think we need to quarrel with them at another level. But our basic quarrel, of course, is, what do you want India to be? And somebody said, I think Mr. Manishankar Iyer's junior colleague today, who holds a very important position in the government, he said, look, what has happened for the first 70 years of our independence was an aberration. Was an aberration.
70 years don't exist, Nehru doesn't exist. We know.
Yeah,
that,
aberration. But I'm telling you, everything is an aberration. Because, I heard, I don't know how many of you heard of Richard Dawkins. Richard Dawkins, he goes to a school. He's a rationalist. He wrote books about, how there cannot be a God and all that. Also has wonderful theories about evolution, because one of our ministers said, nobody had seen an ape becoming a man, so there is no evolution. That kind of thing. And, if you read Dawkins, you'll know, whether you can really see or whether you have seen or anybody has seen. Beside that, the point is this. He said, he gave nail files to children and said, not to, the emergence of Homo sapiens and then agricultural revolution, industrial revolution, and today what we see, all that in the entire history of the globe, of the cosmos, what is the percentage of that? You know, what kind of a time scale, if you want to see? Then somebody said, you know, if it is this much, the whole thing is this much. How much is this? Then somebody said, you know, it's up to the here, etc. But he said, you know, you take your nail file and do it 3 times. The dust that falls, it's just that. So when somebody says 70 years is an aberration, so you want us to go back to, you know, African savanna and try to, and you see, they don't want to go back to, there's a lot of past worshipping that's happening in this country.
I need to
but
move
you see,
on to my next
past,
question.
but past, how early? Why don't you stop at Ashoka? No. Veda? No. Even before? No. Where? Savannah? Yes. Why don't you go to Savannah?
Dr. Prabhakar, you mentioned the newsroom, and I happen to work in one, but I'm going to let it pass, just like I allowed you to pass my first question. So I'm going to move now to the next one. You know, very early in the book, in fact, on page 2 of your preface and acknowledgements, you say, and I quote, "The crisis that the Indian Republic faces will not disappear with the electoral defeat of the Modi-Shah BJP. You also believe that political parties from the opposition need to work without expecting electoral gains. Honestly, I'm asking you, name one politician or one political party who is cast in that mold, who's in politics but does not expect electoral gains in return."
That's the reason why I said I don't have much trust. I don't really expect much from the political parties. They have to, you know, survive, get some votes, and, you know, they come and tell you what you want to listen to, what you want to hear. They come and tell me what I want to hear and I want to listen to, and, you know, get your vote and my vote. Both of us are on completely different trajectories. Still, you know, they would like to have both our votes. So they have but it is the civil society. I'll tell you why. Allow me. You know, one day I wanted to go somewhere, and I hired you know, one of the ride-hailing companies, taxi. You know, normally when I sit in a car, in a taxi, I asked, "What's your name?" And he said his name is Manoj or something like that, Ramesh, I think. And you know, the Google Map gives you, in the name of, you know, reaching at the shortest time by the shortest route, you know, small little lanes. So one day I was going to some place and, you know, I normally sit and, you know, look at my mails or try answering my mails and all that. I don't really look at the route. But when I looked up, we were in a very, very narrow lane locality. In India, people don't walk on footpaths because they are meant for something else. Many other things. I know, in small lanes, and people are walking all over the road, and this boy, he must be in his 30s, he looked at me and said, "Sorry, I'm being blunt." He looked at me and he looked back and said, "Sir, look at these Muslim fellows, they're all over the road. He's not a Shaka going guy. He's not an RSS person. He's not an indoctrinated person. But you see, that's in the air. That kind of a thing has gone into probably the food chain. You know, it's gone into the breast milk probably. A large section of people. You may not be a BJP voter, but you know, they say, what is this? You know, why can't we? You know, why can't this be a Hindu? People today can, without thinking twice, can say, why can't this be a Hindu country? They just say that, without meaning it probably, but they say it. So that has really sat into it. And in order to excise that from a huge number of people, is not possible with the political parties, and it's not as a consequence of winning one election or the other. Even if the unlikely event of 2024 giving us a verdict which you and I like, and don't be surprised if the whole thing recurs in 2029.
So, extreme bigotry, which you talked about, I mean, you talked about hate just now, seems to have become legitimized. You know, patriotism has been redefined. It's now a very muscular form of nationalism. It's all about a 56-inch chest. The kind of language we speak, that has changed. We heard a BJP MP on the floor of the House only 2 weeks back, calling a fellow Muslim MP a Maulana Athankwadi and worse, and I'm not going to repeat those words because I don't think they should even be uttered. My question to you, sir, has the ordinary Indian changed, or has the political climate now enabled the Indian to articulate that kind of view? Because we are called urban naxals, chief ministers are calling Muslims Abu Jan and saying go to Pakistan. The Prime Minister says we can identify rioters from the clothes that they wear. This is not language we ever heard before.
You're very right. It's the enabling atmosphere. Today, it's sanctioned from the top. When people are lynched, when houses are marked, when the so-called Dharma Samsad declares that there should be ethnic cleansing, boycott, economic boycott, a small bangle seller is lynched, when all these things are happening, nobody who is responsible in the government or in the ruling party or in the largest volunteer organization does anything, says anything, utters anything. That means they are being sanctioned. This is one. The second thing to my mind is, when and BJP claims that it is the largest political party in the country, and they go a step forward and say that they are the largest political party in the world. Cosmos, I don't know what. It's largest political party definitely in India. And this largest political party in India, any large tent, any large organization in India has always striven to be, a microcosm of India, always. This political party doesn't care to be a microcosm of India. So much so that today in the huge council of ministers at the center, there's not a single person belonging to the largest minority in the country. Not only in the council of ministers, but also in the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha of that political party. Not only that, in UP, which has about 20% of the Muslim minority, not a single assembly ticket was given to Muslims in UP. In Gujarat for a long time. Recently concluded Karnataka election, not a single Muslim was given a ticket from BJP. So what kind of a message does this send? It sends a message of impunity. I mean, you can say anything. So much so, I've heard a professor today sitting in my alma mater can, say outrageous things about Mahatma Gandhi on record. And there is nobody to tell him, this is not done. I mean, what has he done? What is he? He sold it off to Pakistan. So many things. And the present chief minister during the elections in UP, the present chief minister of UP during the elections very clearly had said, this is a fight between 80% and 20%. He said it on record in many election rallies. And he moved a bill in the assembly, to discourage Muslim population from exploding, which absolutely has no relation to what the government of India itself submitted to the Supreme Court, has no relation to what the Prime Minister had said it from the ramparts of Red Fort that very year on the Independence Day. But let me add two more sentences. What is happening today? From the calls from Dharma Sansa, some all these dog whistles and things like that. Don't think they're just fringe. If this continues, and I'm saying this here in Khushwant Singh Literature Festival, if you are not cautious about this, if you're not alert about it, where do we go from here? If this continues, you will hear these calls from the ramparts of Red Fort. That's the danger. Don't accuse me of not warning you.
Okay, before I open the floor and take some questions, I do want to ask you, given your views and what you've put in writing, sir, the government's agencies are very active. We know that. There's the Enforcement Directorate. I'm not trying to scare you. There's the CBI. There are various other agencies. There are many laws, and they have been used and misused against opponents, journalists, authors, civil society. Are you scared? Have you got any call or any pressure put on you?
I'm not scared, but I can tell you anything can happen anytime in India these days, India today. On a lighter vein, I must say, when I wrote this and it came out, somebody who is somewhat important in the largest voluntary organization in this country, gave me a call and said, "Acha, maine aapka pustak, it's not kitab anymore." There's also weeding out of a lot of words from our day-to-day conversation in the language. Aapka granth, aapka pustak mein padha. Acha, ab aisa hai. Then he switched to English and said, "Look, either the government should listen to you or lock you up, put you behind bars. They should decide." I said, fine. I took it in a lighter vein. But then the point is that, after what's happening these days, anything can happen. But I'm not scared. I'm not afraid of that kind of a thing. I feel this, Ms. Baweja. I'm very serious about it. I'm anxious about it, at the kind of things that are happening and what they might lead to tomorrow, because I am wedded to. Don't get ideas. Huh? I'm so deeply attached to India being a secular, tolerant, liberal, diverse.
So am I.
Country.
And I raise my hand with you. I'll take 3 questions. I'm sorry we started late, so, we don't have too much time. I would request all of you to stick to questions, not comments. Please introduce yourself and ask a quick question. I'll start there at the back. Excuse me. Your voice is loud enough. Can somebody give him a mic, please? Oh, you can hear?
I can hear.
Okay. He wants you to elaborate on the debt figures you mentioned.
Yeah, it is.
Raised it in such a short span to that level.
We have raided everything, including the Reserve Bank of India, and bonds and external borrowings. every avenue was used, including from the banks, foreign institutions, from everywhere. The figure that I've quoted, sir, is not CMIE and not collated from different sources. It is the answer given by the government to a question in the Lok Sabha.
There's more on that in the book.
Yes,
You
sir.
wanted to ask a question,
Madam, I've
please.
got a point here.
There's a mic right here behind you.
Hi, I'm Indrani Mukherjee. I'm the author of... Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'll be speaking in a while anyway, but I just wanted to ask you that when we were talking about these investigating agencies,
I can hear you.
whether it's the
Investigating
CBI
agencies.
or the ED, tell me something that with the change of government, it does not matter which government comes to power, is anything really going to change? Whoever the government is can use the same agencies to shut down voices of people they don't want, to stand up against them, whether it's the Congress, whether it's the BJP, or it could be any other secular party.
We got your question. In fact, during the Congress time, I remember the CBI chief calling himself a caged parrot.
There is a chapter in the book on the UAPA, where I trace UAPA's evolution and make it a point to say that this is a bipartisan act. It's not invented after 2014. It predates in 2014, and when after 2014 the government wanted to tighten the provisions, and make them very rigid, they had a huge cooperation from across the aisle. You're very right. It's not just one, but it's there. It's
Yes,
across
ma'am.
the aisle. There is a consensus, and what is worse is that in these, the burden of proof is not on the accused. I mean, it's not on the prosecution. Sorry, I beg your pardon.
It's on the accused.
It's not on the burden of proof is not on the prosecution.
It's on
If
the
I'm
accused.
charged, I have to prove that I'm innocent. And until I prove myself that I'm innocent, I'm there. Therefore, an accusation becomes sentence.
Prabha, you have a question? Very quickly, please. I'm really running out of time. Very, very quickly.
Yeah, just a very quick question. You outlined all the crises that we're facing as a nation. Yet, at the same time, if you look at Ernst & Young, if you look at World Bank, IMF, all the projections for India's growth say by 2027, we shall be the world's third largest economy. So what's the truth?
You can very well be, but today, we say that we are the fifth largest economy and the fastest growing. Okay, let's park that aside for a while. And I don't know, I think it is today or yesterday's newspapers carried that we are 111th out of 150 odd countries in hunger index. Okay, now we are somewhere around 140-ish insofar as the per capita income is concerned. And there is a huge inequality in India, which has grown over the last, it could be because of demonetization, after that it could be because of the pandemic, etc., etc. Now, when somebody like Oxfam comes out and says that, look, these are the realities. And Prabha, I must tell you, when this government took over, there were 125 billionaires with a B. today, there are 145 billionaires. Isn't it a great thing? It's a great thing. I mean, we have added about 25 billionaires, not Ms. Baweja and myself, but there are 25 billionaires. So are we proud of that, or do we have to be anxious about 87 to 85 to 87% of the population's real wages, earned wages, are contracting, and about 24 of our young people are unemployed, and most of them are probably because of lack of skills unemployable also, and our debt is growing, and and a lot of indicators that I have already given you earlier. Are we see, the government of India cannot be selective and say, look, this malnutrition, I don't agree with it. Lack of incomes, we don't agree with it. Inequality of Oxfam, we don't agree with it. But we would like to have, the World Bank and the IMF and all those Lehman Brothers and people like, no, you can't be selective. You have to respond. You have to talk about it. There is a harsh reality in the Indian economy for everybody to see.
Before I end, there's an important announcement. There's a car that needs to be removed, PB25H2248. Kindly remove the car, PB25H2248. And of course, I would like to tell everybody that Dr. Prabhakar's book is available right here at Full Circle. And in conclusion, I apologize to everybody who I couldn't come to for questions, but you can talk to him over lunch. In conclusion, may I have your permission to say that maybe all is not lost because you did find a publisher for your book.
It wasn't easy.
Can I also conclude one thing? Sorry.
Sir?
I'm just concluding also. Thank you, Dr. Prabhakar, for a lovely lecture. You talked about the social fabric of this country. We are all very concerned about it. And I can assure you, Punjabiyat in Punjab, you will see a change there. The civil society of Punjab has always risen up, spoken up against injustice, about human rights excesses that happen, and the change will occur from Punjab. It has happened in the past, and you will see it in 2024 also. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, and may we end with a round of applause for Dr. Prabhakar.
Thank you, Dr. Prabhakar. Very nice. Super job.
Thank you.
Super. I'd also like to just announce that all the books that the writers that you're going to hear have written, they're all available, and lots of other books also in Full Circle, a bookshop there, and the writers will be only too happy to autograph those books. So Dr. Prabhakar, of course, is there also, and he's there to autograph it. I've done it already.